Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well today. So I am back today with another sewing video, and today's project is actually a little bit different for me because I have only ever made, I think, one pair of wearable shorts that weren't pajamas in the past. So today I am making these paper bag waist style shorts, which were so much fun to make, and I'm really excited to walk through the process with you guys. The pattern that I used for these is from a brand called Apolline Patterns, and they are a French company. So the pattern is mostly in French, but it does have the instructions in English as well. So it was pretty easy to follow along with to me as an English speaker, but do bear that in mind that it might be a little bit confusing. But they have a follow along video on their YouTube channel that you can check out as well, and I'll be sure to have all of this linked down below in case you want to check it out. But the pattern was really fun to make, and it did have a new technique for me, these back pockets. I had never done anything like this before, so maybe don't take my section on that so much as a tutorial, just as somebody trying something new, and check out a more proper tutorial on that. But I'm really happy with how they came out. I used this chambray linen blend fabric that I got from Joann a really long time ago, and I had in my fabric stash for a long time, but I finally got around to making some shorts out of it, which I'm really excited about. So I hope you guys enjoy following along on this process, and I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the sewing. So to get started on this project, I am just going to be cutting out my pattern as is indicated in the pattern instructions. I really like the design of these shorts, so there's not anything that I really want to change here. So I'm just going to be cutting this out as the pattern indicates. So there are a lot of different pieces to this pattern because these shorts have some cute different details like pockets and belt loops. So just bear that in mind that this pattern is a little bit more complicated than is necessary because of these extra details. If you wanted something a little bit more simple, all you would really need are the front and back pieces as well as some type of waistband. This one has a waistband facing instead of a waistband. So they can be as simple or as complicated as you want them to be, but I'm just going with how the pattern is designed today. The fabric that I'm using is from Joann Fabrics, and I have 2 yards of this striped linen blend material. I think it's a great weight for a pair of shorts because it's lightweight, but not so lightweight that it's sheer, so really comfortable to wear. And also the fact that it's a linen blend means it's not going to wrinkle quite as much as a 100% linen fabric, so I think it's a great choice for this, and I will have it linked down below if it's still available. So a quick pattern inventory here. We have the front and back pieces, the waistband facing pieces, all of the pocket pieces, the belt loops, and then the belt. So the first thing to do to actually sew these shorts is to sew the darts. You can think of darts as little triangle folds in fabric. So start by transferring the markings and then pin and sew the darts together. So I'll start from the wide end of the dart and sew tapering it towards the other end. And instead of back stitching, I will just sew straight off and then knot my threads together. This will keep there from being any puckering when I turn it to the right side. So once the dart is sewn, I will just press that flat to one side, and now I can move on to the back pockets. So this pocket technique was new to me, but I will walk you through it as best I can. So I started by transferring the markings from my pattern onto the back of my shorts on either side. So there was just a line and these 2 little triangle shapes that indicate where the pocket will sit. So I went ahead and used my marking pen to transfer that over. So for the back pockets, there is an upper piece and a lower piece. So I'm going to start with the lower piece here, and I'm going to fold in one edge as indicated on the pattern. I think the marking was 1 centimeter to the inside, so I just pressed that down. And then I can go ahead and pin this to the back of my shorts. So following the line on my pattern, I'm pinning this down with the folded line facing down, and then I'll go ahead and sew this down with a straight stitch, leaving 1 centimeter on either side. You can see where my pins are. That's where I'm going to start and end sewing. So here's what the lower pocket piece looked like once I had stitched it down, and now I can go ahead and move on to the upper pocket piece. This is going to look really weird until it starts to come together. I was definitely second guessing myself the whole time, so just be really patient and read the instructions thoroughly if you decide to do this. So next, moving on to the upper pocket piece, I'm just going to match this up to the line that I have drawn on my fabric, and then I'll do the exact same thing here. I'll sew between the 2 centimeter markings, so I'll just transfer that to the top piece as well, and then stitch this down with a straight stitch. So this next step is a little bit scary, but I went ahead and used my scissors to cut along the line that I had drawn, and then I can just push all of my fabric towards the inside of the shorts, leaving this little pocket slit on the outside. So I went ahead and pressed that down and then pinned together all the sides of the pockets on the inside, and then stitched this down with a straight stitch and also serged the edge. This creates the interior of the pocket. So once that's all pressed flat, here's what it looks like. I was really happy actually with how these came out. It was a little bit of a challenge for me, but I think they turned out really well. So moving on now, I'm going to start on the front pieces of the shorts, and the first thing to do here is to transfer the pleat markings from the pattern and go ahead and pin down these pleats. I went ahead and pressed these with my iron and then also used some basting stitches or really wide stitches just to stitch down the top to hold them in place. So now I can sew my center seams on both my front and back pieces, so putting these right sides together and then sewing along that center seam, and I'll also use my serger to overlap this as well. Now I've had a few of you guys asking what you can do if you don't have an overlocker, and for that just use the zigzag stitch on your sewing machine. It has a very similar effect, and that's what I used for years. It works really well to keep your edges from fraying. So now we have front and back pieces put together. We can go ahead and sew the inseam. So to do this, I'm just matching up the center seam, and then I will stitch along both of these sides and then overlock this as well. So next we'll work on the side pockets, and this pattern has an upper and lower piece for each pocket, so just bear that in mind. I don't think this is really necessary. You could just cut these both together, but I went ahead and did it as the pattern indicated and stitched these together. So all I'm doing is sewing this down with a straight stitch, and then I will also serge this edge, and for a little extra detail I'm just going to top stitch this seam as well. Once my pocket piece is put together, I am also just going to serge all the way around the outside edge of this so that it's finished off. So here is what my pockets now look like, and I can now go ahead and attach these to the sides of my shorts. So I'm finding the marking on the pattern of where each pocket should go, and then just lining this up along the edge. Then I'll stitch this down with a straight stitch, and I will also serge off the entire edge of my shorts to finish off that edge. And then one final detail, I'm just understitching my pockets as well, which is just a little row of top stitching that helps them to stay to the inside a little bit better. That's an extra detail that's totally optional, but I like to do that a lot on pockets. So now putting these side seams together, I'm going to go ahead and pin all the way across the side seam of my shorts, going around the pocket here because we don't want to sew over that. So you want to sew your side seam going around the pocket edge as well. So I'm just going to stitch that down with a straight stitch, and my seam is already finished because we did that serging as we put the pocket pieces on the shorts. So once the side seams are done, this is really starting to take shape. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my shorts to the right side and just press down my seams and my pockets to make sure everything is really smooth. And here is what that side pocket looks like. You can see that it is really neatly inset in the side seam so that it's kind of hidden, which I really like. And I think that understitching looks so nice as well. So the next step is to work on the facing for the waistband. So this is a little piece of fabric that will go to the inside, and we can put our elastic through this so that we have that elastic waistband. So the first thing to do is sew the two side seams. There's a front and back piece here. So I'm just going to pin these short edges together, and then I will stitch this down with a straight stitch and then press the seams open. So once that's done, we're left with this loop of fabric that we can pin to the waistband of the shorts. So I'm going to match up my side seams here and pin all the way around the entire waistline of the shorts. And then I will just stitch this down with a straight stitch all the way around, making sure to backstitch really securely. So now I'm just going to press that seam flat, and then I will turn my facing towards the inside and also turn up that edge just about a centimeter as the pattern indicates, almost like a hem, but that'll go towards the inside. So I'm just turning it up one time, and then I'm just going to press this all as flat as I can. So here is how that waistband is now looking, and I'm going to go ahead and pin that facing to the outside of the fabric so that we can do 2 rows of top stitching all the way around the waistline of the shorts. This is what will really give it that paper bag type of style that looks so cute. So this is how it's indicated on the pattern. One row is at 5 centimeters down from the waistline, and the other is at 8 centimeters down from the waistline. So you'll just stitch all the way around, but on the lower row of stitching, make sure to leave a little gap because that is where we will insert the elastic. So that top stitching left the perfect little casing for elastic, so I went ahead and cut a piece of elastic that fit my waistline really comfortably where I wanted my shorts to hit. And then I'm going to go ahead and use a safety pin to thread this through this casing, so just going all the way through from one end to the other. And then when you get to the other end, just overlap your elastic a little bit on itself, and you can use zigzag stitches to stitch it together. That works really well. I just backstitch a lot and use zigzag stitches, and it makes it really secure where the elastic holds together really well. So I'm just going to pin and stitch my elastic together, and then I will also top stitch over the gap that we left in that casing for the elastic to go in, and that will keep everything really secure. So once the elastic has been added, here is how that waistband is starting to look. It's definitely taking on that paper bag type of style. So now we're going to go ahead and add the belt loops. So for each belt loop, there are 2 pieces of fabric, and we have 4 belt loops in total for these shorts. So I'm going to start by putting the 2 pieces together and stitching along the long side of each belt loop and then trimming off the seam. Then I'll turn everything to the right side and press this really flat and also turn up either edge. And then I'll trim off that little bit of excess there, and they're ready to attach to the shorts. So I'll attach one on either side of the front where the pleats that we made are, and then one on either side of the back where the little dart that we made was. So that makes everything really even here, and they look really cute added to the shorts. So I'll just stitch these down with a little bit of top stitching, making sure that they're really secure on either side of the belt loop. So since we've added belt loops, of course we need a matching belt. So the belt is in 2 pieces that you sew in a center seam, and please forgive me because I accidentally set this shot up very poorly and cut off the center seam that I was pinning here, but you'll see it in just a second. So here's what it looks like sewn, and I'm just pressing that flat, and then I'll fold the belt in on itself and pin all the way across from one side to the other, and then stitch this down with a straight stitch, being sure to point off at the edges, but leaving a gap in the middle so I can turn it to the right side. So once everything has been turned to the right side, I'm just pressing the belt really flat, and then I will sew up that little gap that we left using some invisible hand stitches. So the last step to make these shorts is just to do a really simple hem. So I'm just doing a double hem, so folding it up once and then one more time so that that raw edge is encased, and then I will just stitch this down with a straight stitch. the hem stitch, I could go ahead and add the belt through the belt loops, and I just tied this in a little bow in front, and I think that they turned out so cute. I'm really happy with this pair of shorts, and I loved working with this pattern. I definitely want to try making it again in a couple more fabrics, and I think the style is just so classic and vintage inspired and perfect for the summertime. Definitely a good staple piece to have in your summer wardrobe. I've styled it here with a white button-up shirt and a vintage basket bag, and I love how it turned out. Alright guys, so that is going to be it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed seeing me make these shorts. It was a really fun project to put together, and now that I've done it once, I feel like I could make this pattern so many times in so many different types of fabrics. So I'm really looking forward to trying it again. Now that I've gotten the back pockets kind of figured out, I'm excited to try it again in a couple of different fabrics. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I am kind of wrapping up my summer sewing projects. I've got a couple more left, but I'm going to be getting into fall sewing soon, which I'm really excited about. So make sure that you are subscribed to stay tuned for all my future projects. I should have another summer dress coming up in the next week, so watch out for that. And if you'd like to keep up with me outside of YouTube, I am over on Instagram. I will put my handle up here in case you'd like to check me out over there. But I think with that, I'm going to leave it there for today, you guys, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye!
See what you saw in me. Ooh, na, na, na. But you showed me how to believe. Still gets me.